Kristen Morrissey, the principal of Mercy Mount. Kristen Roberto, the project-based learning coordinator at Mercy Mount. Dr. Kevin O'Malley, the former head of school at VLCCPS. And Amanda Mullaney, our special speaker from the class of 2007 at VLCCPS. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Mr. Joe Turner, the VLCCPS head of school, who is integral in the success of our capstone process and who will run our capstone presentations this morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here for our second day of presentations. To echo Mrs. Onelski, welcome family and friends and distinguished guests. Welcome students. These 2 days are really the highlight of the year in so many ways. Yesterday, in my comments, I spoke a little bit about how capstone is the tradition and practice at our school that I think best exemplifies all four pillars. It's the project that you really do need parents of primary educators, character education, community service, and classical education combined, working in tandem to be successful. But the tradition of capstone is more than just an event. A tradition isn't about one moment in time. One of the reasons we do capstone and why it's such an important tradition of our school is because the tradition is something that we want you to carry with you, that we want to change you. And as you leave our school, as our 8th graders prepare for a big transition to high school, the capstone experience, the tradition of service, is something that we want to be part of. Now, in that spirit today, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Amanda Mullaney.
Yeah.
Amanda. Amanda was an 8th grader who stood up at this podium 12 years ago and gave her capstone presentation. And as an 8th grader, we ask all of you guys, we haven't asked you to do this yet, but you'll, for your school yearbook, write a little bit about where you think you'll be in 20 years. So I'd like to share with Amanda. I'm sorry, Amanda. In 20 years, I will be chief editor of the Boston Globe after being senior writer at Saturday Night Live and doing a book tour in Europe, most likely to win an Oscar. Now, in the 12 years since leaving VLCCPS, Amanda has accomplished many great things that, in my opinion, are just as impressive as what ambition she had for herself in 8th grade. After leaving VLCCPS, she attended Mount High School and graduated with distinction. She went on to attend Wheaton College and also graduated Wheaton with distinction. And after Wheaton College, she recently passed the Massachusetts bar exam and is now employed as a lawyer in the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. Amanda, we're so proud of you, and there's nothing I could say that a student who learned these lessons as a student at VLCCPS and then went on to show how the tradition of capstone carries forth as you implement it in high school, college, and then your lives. I would like to welcome Amanda to share some comments with you all today, and then we'll begin our presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Perno. Mr. Perno was my art teacher almost the entire time that I was here. He taught me that charcoal was my medium, but that maybe I should go into law. So I graduated from, well, first let me say, I'm so excited to be here today. Everything looks the same, but it's also a little different. I'm so excited to hear about your guys' presentation. Thank you to Mrs. Olenowski and all of you for giving me the chance to speak today. I'm really excited. I graduated from VLCCPS in 2007, and I can't believe that this is the 19th edition of the capstone presentations. It was only about year 5 or 6 when I was here. I remember from my capstone how much thought and hard work goes into what you guys have done today. You should all be very proud of what you've worked on. You've completed projects from raising money for animal shelters and food pantries to raising awareness about breast cancer and racism. You've successfully donated hundreds of books for children's literacy, made greeting cards for the elderly, and donated your time to cleaning play spaces for homeless children. You did all this and more, and you did it without a driver's license. I am so impressed with all of you right now. BFCCPS teaches us so much, but I think the most important thing it teaches us through character education is the love and satisfaction you can get from helping other people and from helping your community. After I left BFCCPS and after a lot more time in school, I went to high school and college and law school, and now I'm a lawyer and I'm working as a district attorney in Norfolk County, which is the county that we're in right now. All of that is fancy words for I'm a prosecutor who works in the criminal justice system. Now, sometimes my job means that I'm helping victims who've been affected by crimes in our community. Sometimes it means that I have to send someone to jail, and sometimes it means dismissing a case in the interest of justice. I love my job, and I love being able to advocate for people and help them. And I can say to you guys today, remember this when you're going to high school, when you're going to college, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. Even after 12 years, I still use so many things that I learned at BFCCPS. I can now speak from experience and tell you that speaking in front of a judge and doing a trial is much easier than standing up in your French class, speaking French, doing a skit in front of all of your classmates and Madame Malou. And I guarantee you, you have all done that just as many times as I have. I first learned and memorized the preamble to the Constitution in Mrs. Henderson's second grade class. And that definitely helped me on the bar exam. And I kid you not, I remember it from second grade. She tricked us into learning it by teaching us a song. Most importantly, the things that I carry with me from the charter school are those leaves in the forest of virtue. 3 of them that were always my favorite, and I always try to take into the courtroom with me every day, no matter how much I'm arguing with someone. Patience, fortitude, and prudence. Those are all words I learn here. They're things I take with me into the courtroom and into my life every day. What you have achieved today is so much of an accomplishment, but it is just the beginning. Academic rigor is so important, but fortitude to never give up and caring about your community is just as important. And you guys have an amazing foundation for that. For what you've done today shows that, in the leaf in the forest of virtue, all of it. Now, when I was looking at all of your projects and I was trying to come up with something short to say today, I actually looked up in my office and I saw something that I keep on the board for my predecessor. And it kind of reminds us on days when we're having a tough work day or it's been a long day, why we do what we do. And it reminded me exactly of you guys here today and everything that you've accomplished. It's called the Starfish Story. There's a little girl, and she was walking along the beach, and a storm had washed up all of the starfish that were going to die on the beach. One by one, she picked up the starfish and she was throwing them back into the ocean. This older man comes up to her and he says, "Little girl, what are you doing? There is no way you're going to save all of those starfish. You're not even going to be able to save a tenth of them. What is the point?" The little girl looked down at her hand, the starfish that was in it. She threw it into the water and she said, "I made a difference to that one." And that's exactly what you guys have done today. And look at all of you guys. One person can make that huge difference, but you have done tremendous work and you should be so proud of yourself. And I think BFCCPS is setting you on the road to high school and beyond to have that great success. And I can't wait to hear today all about your projects.
Good morning. Good morning. As most of you know, this is my first year here at BFCCPS. So when I was told that I would be a Capstone advisor for a group of 8th graders, I didn't really know what to expect. It didn't take long to settle in, and wow, what an incredibly humbling experience it has been. It's easy to see the connection between our school's mission and the values that these students have learned and exhibited throughout the capstone process. I have had the opportunity to watch my students gain skills such as leadership, good communication, time management, and decision making. It hasn't been easy, they will be the first to let you know. But making the commitment to complete this project has made a long-lasting impact on people's lives and the community. As Barack Obama once advised, making your mark on the world is hard. If it were easy, everybody would do it. But it is not. It takes patience, it takes commitment, and it comes with plenty of failure along the way. The real test is not whether you avoid this failure, because you won't. It's whether you let it harden or shame you into inaction. Or whether you learn from it, whether you choose to persevere. With this project, you have chosen to persevere, and you should all feel very proud of yourselves. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite in Tara Beatty to come up.
Hello students, parents, and faculty. My name is Nitin Karabidi and I focus my capstone project on homelessness. I chose homelessness because it is a major issue in many countries. It is a common thread in the world that many people can take part in to help. Homelessness is important because it seems as if it's one of the longest problems to occur. Although if every single person helps a little, this problem will not be a thing. Who are we as human beings if we ignore the suffering as others while we get to concentrate on other things and have fun? Homelessness is a major topic that desperately needs help, and I decided to step in this situation and help out as much as I can. For my capstone project, I decided to work with the Medway House, which is run by SMOC. They showed me kindness and compassion and taught me a lot of how homelessness was being dealt. It is much better now, but we could do a lot more work to make sure everybody is happy. I chose to step in by doing my 3 goals. My first goal was to raise $300 from selling popcorn. I worked with a non-profit organization called Double Goods Popcorn, and they make their gourmet popcorn, which is very good. At the end of selling all the popcorn, I exceeded my goal by raising $600. My second goal was to be confident in public speaking. I succeeded this goal by taking the Communication Merit Badge at my Boy Scout summer camp. This badge required us to do several speeches, which made me go out of my comfort limits. And I got the merit badge at the end. And finally, my third goal was to volunteer at the Medway House for 5 hours. I played with the kids there and helped the staff there to make sure everyone was happy. These goals took a lot of hard work, but with my organization helping me and a lot of support from my fellow friends, I got through all of this. Now, I had to spread awareness about my capstone project by telling my family and friends, which led them to posting on their social media and their own friends to help me. Another way I educated others was by putting up flyers up around the school about my toy drive, which turned out to be really successful. And it also had information about my capstone project. I also talked on the phone to some relatives from India about my capstone project, and they seemed to enjoy it. This capstone project made me come closer to my family and relatives. It made me change as a person and even made my life happier. But I had to face some obstacles during this capstone project. My first obstacle I had to face were my organization. My organization at first said that they couldn't let me do volunteer hours. I had to search for another one that was close to me, and all of the other ones were very far from me. I had a tight schedule, so that would just take more time. Although the organization that said I couldn't volunteer hours spoke out to me again, saying I could volunteer. This was the reason I received a yellow light. Another obstacle I had faced was my schedule. I had an activity every day, so I didn't know when to volunteer and sell popcorn. My organization listed out the dates for me, and almost all of them were not available for me. This made me very stressed. My organization reassured me, saying I don't have to do it that month, which later on I wasn't always that busy. I had gotten my volunteer hours done by now, and I had successfully completed my capstone. Another obstacle I had faced was my website. I didn't know where to start with my website and was afraid I wouldn't earn enough. I overcame this by talking with my organization and friends and how they did their website. I retraced the steps and made a website that you can read off of. The final obstacle I faced was my lemonade stand. For my lemonade stand, I need permission to do it in specific places. I also need a license to do it. I figured this would be too much work, especially with my original expectation to do 5 lemonade stands, which meant I had to get permission from 5 different places. Eventually, I decided not to take the route for the lemonade stand, and instead I went to sell popcorn with my friend Adrian, which turned out to be very successful. I had many positive results of my project. I raised $600 from raising popcorn. I also raised 4 bins full of toys to give to the kids at the Medway House, and when I saw them, they were so happy. I enjoyed the Medway House as I interacted with the people there and had lots of fun. Some were my age, and unfortunately one person's house got struck by a tornado. I learned that there were also normal 14-year-olds that actually had a lot of stuff in common with me. No homeless person deserves to be in the conditions that they live in. Most people at the Medway House aren't in the shelter for a while. They need people to help them reassure themselves, to make sure they realize the world isn't over. As much as just pushing a kid on a swing, it's still helping for a good cause to make them happy. I find myself having a lot of fun with the kids there, and I definitely would go again in my spare time. Before I'm done with my long speech, I would like to recognize Ms. Giorgio, my advisor, Mr. Dieter, Ms. Olnowski, Heidi from the Medway House, Dr. Leverett for approving my blue sheets, Mr. Murray, my former advisor, everyone in my advising group consisting of Ziba, Michael, Abiram, Annette, Grace, Haley, and Jeremy, and my wonderful parents for driving me everywhere I need to go and made me look as best as I can. Good thing. But Mr. McSweeney helped me, so. And there's always a good in a person. You just have to see it. I will all leave you off with Albert Einstein's words. The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Thank you all for your time listening to my speech. I wish the best of luck to everyone else presenting. Thank you.
Next, we have Annette Francis.
Good morning, students, faculty, and parents of the BHCCPS community. My name is Annette Francis. For my capstone project is spreading awareness on animal cruelty. So long as I can remember, animals have always held a special place in my heart. I've always loved animals dearly, and the thought of people enduring them is unbearable to me. I have seen animals that are homeless due to catastrophic events like hurricanes and wildfires. In addition, I've also seen animals that are neglected by their owners. All these put together made me choose to stop them. I started my project by volunteering for the Milford Humane Society at the yard sale in May. My initial plan was to volunteer at the shelter, but due to age restrictions, this did not work out. I did, however, have the opportunity to volunteer at the organization Stray Pets in Need, Spin for short, in Natick with my mom. Spin's ultimate goal is to promote the well-being of animals and responsible human-animal relationships. In addition, Spin helps find homes for hundreds of stray animals each year. They are to care of shy cats that will potentially abuse at some point in their lives and work with them to help them become more comfortable with humans again. This takes time, patience, and trust. I also took care of daily tasks like cleaning cages and feeding them. During the summer, I did a fundraiser for Second Chance Animal Rescue of Puerto Rico after seeing the plight of the animals affected by Hurricane Maria. I sold homemade food like cookies, jelly, dog food, and more in the community yard sale. I was able to raise $80 and send a donation to the organization. I also ran a donation drive in my apartment complex to collect supplies for Spin. I was able to bring blankets, towels, cleaning supplies to the shelter. My capstone project gifted me with the opportunity to spread awareness in regards to the harsh realities of animal cruelty. One of the powerful tools for preventing cruelty to animals is through education. So I began my project by educating the first and second graders at BHCCPS about how they can help stray animals. Children not only need to learn what they should not do, but also what they can do. I also taught them about what animal cruelty is and how they can treat animals with the kindness and respect they deserve. I can proudly say that I have accomplished all of my capstone goals. There were some obstacles on the way. Though I was given an opportunity to volunteer at Plaza Plainville during last spring, the shelter was shut down by then, which meant I need to find shelters which can accept me as a volunteer. Many shelters have age restrictions of 18 and above to volunteer. Finally, Spin gave me an opportunity to volunteer along with my parents, though it was a 40-minute drive. There are many positive results from my project. I have learned a lot from volunteering at Spin. First and foremost, patience. Bonding with shy animals needed immense amounts of patience since they're scared of humans. I had never volunteered in an animal shelter before, but after volunteering, I learned how important it is for everyone to feel being loved. Finally, when the animals found loving homes, you get a sense of accomplishment. There's always something more to learn during each of my visits to the shelter there, and I'm sure I'll be spending more time there. Animals feel pain and fear just like we do. Unlike us, they're often helpless victims because they can't use words to advocate for themselves. If we wish to create a humane society, we must stop animal cruelty against those who are most vulnerable like animals. Before I conclude my speech, I want to thank everyone who helped me along the way. My capstone advisors, Mr. Murray and Mr. Giorgio, for their guidance throughout the process. The executive director has been Ms. Sula, my family for all their support, and my snunchie advisor. I want to thank faculty, parents, and everybody for listening and watching. Last but not least, I cannot thank BHCCPS enough for giving me this great opportunity and making me realize my dream. Thank you.
Great job. Next we have Grace McNeil.
Hello, my name is Grace McHugh. For my capstone project, I worked with Sydney Hill Farm to rescue a nurse foal. First off, what is a nurse foal? In the nurse horse industry, nurse mares are horses that are impregnated so they're able to nurse the racehorse babies. Since the nurse mare needs to nurse the racehorse babies, their own babies most often have an unfortunate fate, as they not serve the purpose the owners in the industry. The foals are usually sent to kill pens. Sounds unimaginable, right? Well, that's how I felt as well, which is why when I heard about Simony Hill Farm, I knew I wanted to help. Marcy, the owner of Simony Hill Farm, asked me if I'd be willing to sponsor a nurse mare foal, which would include raising money for her rescue and travel expenses, plus helping with ongoing care, such as brushing her, walking her, and spending time with her. I was happy to help. So, the next week, Cadence had arrived at the farm and had been rescued. When I first met Cadence, she was a little 1-month-old foal. Now, she's a lively 8-month-old foal. Every Sunday, I'm able to spend time with Cadence. My first goal was to raise a large sum of money to fund the safety of Cadence. I set my goal for between $500 and $700. I raised money by hosting 2 yard sales, babysitting, setting the donation stand at the Frankfort Farmers Market, and having a raffle here at BFCCPS. In total, I was able to exceed my goal and raise $700. I was able to provide Simony Hill Farm with enough money to purchase some necessities for Cadence. As I planned, I did keep a journal with entries and photos to keep me on track through the process. My second goal was to spend 20 hours at Simony Hill Farm. I went to the farm for almost every Sunday for the past year. I was able to exceed my goal and spend 40 hours in total at the farm. At the farm, I would take care of my different horses, bring them to graze and back to their stalls, feeding them and changing their water, and of course, spending a lot of quality time with Cadence. This was an incredible experience. It's something I'm very grateful for, and I was glad I was able to make a difference. My third goal was to get better at public speaking. I accomplished this goal by going to the younger grades while they were in art and teach them about my project. As I was there, I read them a story and showed them pictures of the horse I was helping. I was extremely surprised with how interested they were and how much they wanted to help. I also informed friends and family about my cause too. I educated others about my project and about the Frankfort Farmers Market and having yard sales. I think the most influential thing I did for my Capstone project was when I was speaking at the Frankfort Farmers Market and having yard sales. People seemed to be genuinely interested and influenced by Cadence's story, which motivated me. The biggest obstacle I faced was when I went to Martha's Vineyard for the majority of the summer. While I was there, I planned to babysit, pet sit, and walk dogs. Unfortunately, I accomplished none of my summer goals. I was unable to because though I put signs all over the island, I did not get any business. I was very far away from my organization I was working with, so I could not volunteer either. Luckily, I had already accomplished 2 of my goals, so catching up was not very hard. Though there were some obstacles, there are many positive outcomes to my project as well. One of the positive outcomes was that I was able to help a baby horse, help her get rescued from a kill pen. This is a big accomplishment for me, as left a big impact on my life. I also learned that baby horses need a lot of care and need attention and be touched and loved so they can grow up to be social horses and can be ridden and enjoyed. I also learned to keep doing things even when it's hard. My final positive outcome was I informed my community about my cause. As I told people about my cause, I noticed how surprised and sad they got, and some people talked to me about how they could help. Lastly, I would like to finish off with a quote. Saving just one horse will not change the world, but surely it will change the world for that one horse. There are so many people who have helped me through my Capstone project. I would like to thank my parents for always helping me through this process, my sister Lillian for coming to volunteer with me every Sunday, my advisor, Miss Giorgio, my former advisor, Mr. Murray, Miss Sunday, my advisees, and thank you all for listening and have a great day.
Welcome back. You guys deserve that break. 6th and 7th graders, you guys have been a fantastic audience. Parents, you've been doing a great job too. Thank you. We're going to continue with some presentations now, and I'd like to invite back up Ms. Giorgio, who will introduce the next member of her advisory group.
So next up, I'd like to invite up Abby Brown,
Hello students, parents, and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Abiram Polikara, and for my Capstone project, I chose to work with an organization that helps the homeless. There are about 554,000 people without a home in America and about 1.6 billion people without adequate homes in the world. I chose to help the homeless for my project because most people take what they have for granted. There are many people in the world without the gifts we have. So that's why I wanted to specifically focus my project on homeless children. Can you imagine not knowing where you're going to sleep every night? It is really unsettling to think about how many children don't have a place to call home. As a result, I decided to work with an organization called Horizons for Homeless Children. The mission of Horizons for Homeless Children is to improve the lives of young homeless children in Massachusetts and help their families succeed by providing high-quality early education, opportunities for play, and comprehensive family support services. My first goal was to raise awareness about the plight of homeless children in Massachusetts. I did this by making flyers and telling people about the prevalence of homelessness. In addition, I provided instructions on how they can help the cause. For example, people can donate money to help families in need and volunteer to play with their children at the shelter. My goal was to put up at least 7 flyers around town. I also added my flyers to the BFCCPS newsletter, Ben's Buzz, and the BFCCPS Parents Facebook page. I put up many flyers in various places around town, like neighborhoods, libraries, and the senior center. For my second goal, I wanted to volunteer 5 hours at the Horizon shelter and raise $300. I decided to raise the money by doing a popcorn sale along with Knittin' through an organization named Double Goods. The way that Double Goods works is that they make gourmet popcorn for people to sell, and after the money is raised, half the money is returned to Double Goods to make the popcorn, and half is for the fundraising organization. As well as doing a popcorn sale, my mother had an idea of selling her plants to friends and family to raise donations for my capstone project. After doing both sales, I exceeded my goal by raising a staggering $600. I also volunteered for 8 hours. When volunteering, I cleaned up play areas at the shelter and made kindness rocks for a big event. I volunteered 4 hours in total at the shelter itself, and I spent 4 hours making, painting, and writing inspirational messages on the rocks. My third goal was my personal goal, and it was to improve on my public speaking. I completed this goal by taking a communications class, as well as practicing a speech to my Boy Scout troop. In Boy Scouts, in order to earn the Communication Merit Badge, we were taught skills that are necessary for delivering a good speech. We were asked to practice a series of speeches and performances, in addition to teaching a fellow scout a skill. After taking this class, I am more comfortable speaking in front of large crowds. Lastly, I then checked my progress in front of my troop, and I felt very proud of my results. Although my capstone went very well, there were a few bumps in the road. An obstacle I faced during my capstone project was that my coordinator went on vacation during the summer, so I was not able to do for my first and second goal because they involved my coordinator's help. I overcame this obstacle by doing the work I could be doing without the help of her and planning out what I am going to have to do when she comes back. Another obstacle I faced was that I received the yellow light because I did not have a volunteer aspect to my project. I overcame this by asking my coordinator if there was anything I could do to get volunteer hours. There are many people who helped me through my capstone journey, and I'd like to give them recognition. I'd like to thank my mom and dad for giving me ideas and driving me places, my current advisor, Mrs. Giorgio, my previous advisor, Mr. Murray, and my advising group for guiding me through the capstone process. I would like to thank Casey Zink, the coordinator from Horizons that helped me throughout the year, staying in contact and letting me volunteer. I would like to thank all the people who donated to my popcorn and plant sale. I would also like to thank Dr. Levering for helping me with my flyer, and Mrs. Basili for putting it on Ben's Buzz and the Facebook page. And last but not least, I would like to thank you guys for listening to my speech. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Jeremy Sanchez.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Sanchez, and for my Capstone project, I decided to work with the Franklin Food Pantry to help local families in need. Did you know 795 million people don't have access to the food and nutrients they need to stay healthy? The Franklin Food Pantry is a private nonprofit organization that's mission is to relieve hunger and supply nourishment to families that need assistance. In 2017, there were 4,821 client visits to the pantry. Out of the 1,000 individuals that visited the pantry last year, 556 were adults, 269 were children, and 142 were senior citizens. Many people that visit the Franklin Food Pantry are working families just trying to make ends meet. When I looked into the pantry's mission, it was shocking to learn how many families can't afford basic necessities. I was especially upset to learn that just in the last year, 217 children and potentially more were going to bed without food in their bellies. This prompted me to take action. I believe that no one should suffer from hunger. My first goal was to volunteer at the food pantry. Last summer, I spent 12 hours sorting donations, stocking shelves, and boxing up deliveries. While I was there, I learned just how much effort goes into running a pantry. I felt a greater appreciation for the work these volunteers do each week. My second goal was to host a drive at BFCCPS to collect donations for the pantry. With the help of the students and faculty, I was able to fill multiple boxes with food donations, toiletries, paper goods, and cleaning products to bring to the pantry. It felt really good to know that with these donations, I was helping many families stay healthy. My third goal was my personal goal. I wanted to become better at speaking in front of groups of people. This was challenging for me because I get nervous speaking publicly. I decided to film morning announcements, which was a big deal for me because they are played throughout the entire school. I then practiced delivering my capstone presentation to a few advising groups. Every time I presented, I felt more and more confident, although I still do not enjoy speaking in front of large groups or crowds. I am here today trying my best. I faced a few obstacles throughout my capstone project. One obstacle I faced was not being able to find an organization that would work with me. Additionally, I had a difficult time with completing my volunteer hours in a timely fashion. Ultimately, everything worked out and I was able to complete all of my goals. Now I would like to take the time to thank the people that made this project possible. First, I want to thank my mom and dad for their support in driving me to and from the Franklin Food Pantry. This was paramount. Second, I want to thank my advisors, Mr. Murray and Mrs. Giorgio. Mr. Murray helped me get started on finding an organization to work with for Capstone. Mrs. Giorgio helped me complete my Capstone project and for supporting me through the writing process. Lastly, I want to thank the Franklin Food Pantry for this project and teaching me that with a little bit of hard work, we can change people's lives. And viewers like you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Michael Bassignani.
Hello everyone, my name is Wayne and I already know my name. Hello everyone, my name is Michael Bassanani, and for my capstone project, I chose to work with honeybees. First, let's start off with a little bit of background information about honeybees. Did you know that honeybees are actually not native to North America? They were brought here from Europe in the 1600s. There are many reasons why honeybees are important to humans. First off, they are excellent pollinators, and we actually rely on them for a third of all our crops. In 1879, a varroa mite was discovered in Wisconsin. Varroa mites are parasitic mites that crawl under the bees' abdominal plates and attach to the bee's body like a tick. They suck body fluids from the bees, spreading disease and draining the bee of fluids necessary to survive. An infestation can rapidly reproduce and are able to destroy an entire hive rapidly if not treated. Right now, the honeybee populations in North America are dying out. However, this is not solely due to mites. Hives constantly fail because of disease, weather, swarms, and even people who destroy hives for fun. Varroa mites are only increasing this risk of failure. And now, wild honeybee hives are virtually non-existent. Almost all the hives now are kept by beekeepers. I chose to work with the Norfolk County Beekeepers Association to try and help the plight of bees. I attended classes and ultimately became a beekeeper with my own hives. My first goal for my capstone project was to raise $200 for NCBA. I intended to make homemade keychains using special shrinking paper and my own artistic abilities. But then I realized how difficult it would be to hand make 100 keychains. So I found a silver honeybee charm online and bought keychain rings. I managed to sell close to $200 worth of keychains. With this money, I plan to be a steward for BFCPS's own honeybee hive. I will tend to the hive and send updates to school periodically to let everyone know how our hive is doing. You will be able to find these updates in Ben's box. My second goal was to educate the public on the importance of bees and what we can do as good citizens to help bees. I visited many different classrooms at BFCPS in grades K to 4. I taught the younger students about problems that honeybees are facing and things we can do to help support them. My original goal was to have a professional beekeeper come into the school and give a presentation on beekeeping, but that did not happen due to time constraints. This was an obstacle, but I was able to overcome it by setting a new goal and educating BFCPS myself. My third goal was perhaps the hardest part of this project for me. I set the goal to not procrastinate, but I did not really achieve this goal. But I did, however, overcome my fear of staying insects and am now willingly tend to my own hives. Lastly, I managed to complete this project on time, mostly. Thank you to everyone who made this capstone project a success. My mom, my dad, my advisors, Mr. Murray and Ms. Giorgio, Norfolk County Beekeepers Association, the BFCPS community for supporting my cause, and finally my honeybees, because after all, they're doing the most work.
We have Viva Equal.
Hello students, parents, and faculty of the FCCPS. My name is Ziva Iqbal, and for my capstone project, I decided to work with the Boston Children's Hospital. I work to not only raise money, but also raise awareness for children diagnosed with cancer. I've been passionate about helping those with cancer ever since I was little, because I lost 2 members of my family to the disease. I've always wanted to give back to those who helped our family through difficult times, and this project was a perfect opportunity for doing so. It is important for others to be aware of how serious this affliction is so that they can help. People may think they cannot be of any use to fight against such a strong sickness, but as I learned throughout my project, this is not true. My first goal was to hold an arts and crafts supply drive. I made flyers which I put up around my school portraying some information about my capstone project and why I held the drive. After collecting the donations, I hand-delivered them to my coordinator at the hospital. Although the hospital was far away, it was worth going the distance to personally give supplies that could brighten a child's day. My second goal was to spread awareness of my project and raise $120. I completed my goal by reserving a table at the farmer's market. I educated others on my capstone project in my community, which includes school, friends, family, and locals. At the farmer's market, I had a banner reading the name of my organization. This notified passerbys of what my table was for, the Children's Hospital. Many people stopped by so I could talk to them about what I was doing for my project. I not only spread information but also collected donations and cards for the children in the hospital. Furthermore, I sold gold-colored bracelets there, which signify childhood cancers, and collected a total of $160. For my personal goal, I had resolved to improve my public speaking. I practiced by talking to multiple audiences, including a variety of adults I did not know, over the summer. I attended a STEM program, but even though it was not meant for public speaking, I learned techniques that helped me speak to a large audience. They helped me come out of my comfort zone, since I had to talk to people I was not familiar with. At home, I used a mirror to improve my speaking presentation-wise, so I could see and diminish any issues I came across. As with any big project, I came across a few obstacles along the way. My first goal was to volunteer for 12 hours, but that did not happen. My first coordinator gave me different information than what the manager of the Yaki Inn, where I plan to volunteer, gave. My coordinator had told me that the tools would be provided by the inn, while the inn manager later informed me in June that I would have to bring my own tools, such as pots, pans, and other kitchen appliances. I could not bring my own utensils, so I could no longer volunteer. I overcame this complication by switching my goal to holding an arts and crafts supply drive. With the drive, I could donate items that would be very useful, especially in an art event that is held in the hospital. My second goal was originally to hold a t-shirt designing activity at BFCCPS for the students. In this activity, I planned for students K-6 being able to design and take home their own t-shirt for $5. I had to change my goal in June due to a mistake in the ordering of the shirts. Many of the wrong sizes were delivered, and I could not return them. Because of this, I could not order more without not making a profit. I overcame this difficulty by going to the farmer's market. I raised awareness for my college while also receiving donations and cards for the patients. I raised around $40 more than I originally planned, which summed up to $160. The positive results of my capstone project is that I raised money and collected arts and craft supplies for the hospital. I also spread awareness of cancer at the farmer's market to many people. I learned that it does not matter how small your actions are, your actions may still be helpful. I also went through trial and error while doing this project, which helped me accept that not everything in life can be done in the first attempt, and it is not always perfect. I would like to thank those who helped me in the capstone process. Thank you, Mrs. Kaplan, Mrs. Sunday, Mr. Kerna, Mrs. Olnowski, and Dr. Levin, for your endless support and ideas, my amazing advisors, Mr. Murray and Mrs. Giorgio, for being there almost every step of the way. My advisees, Michael, Grace, Haley, Jeremy, Annette, Nitin, and Abiram. My parents for driving me to different places and helping out in everything I achieved. Mrs. Kovacs' group for helping me make cards to give to the children. My coordinator, Julie, and the Boston Children's Hospital for making everything possible. And last but not least, all of you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. So now I'd like to ask my entire advising group to please stand.